What is up, everybody? Welcome into a very special Thanksgiving episode of Respect Her Game. I'm Laura Stickells, coming to you remotely today from California. Annabelle Hasselbeck is joining me remotely as well. We're joking, we're not in the studio. We've got plain white walls behind us. We look like we're in some sort of like solitary confinement situation. But no, we're just coming to you from our homes. We're home for Thanksgiving, getting to enjoy time with our family. In about 30 minutes, we'll also have Dara Torres on as well. She's the new head coach of BC Swimming. She's also a 12-time Olympic medalist. Annabelle, you got to talk to her at the Tradition, and I listened to that interview yesterday. Awesome job, by the way. You crushed it. And Dara seems like an incredible coach. Those BC swimmers are so lucky to have her. And so I'm excited for everybody to get to hear that interview because she was really awesome. But first, AB, I'm curious for you. We're recording this the day before Thanksgiving. So what is the Hasselbeck household like the day before Thanksgiving?
That's a great question. And thank you for the compliment on the Dara interview. She was incredible. But the Hasselbeck household, it is different every single year. I would say it typically revolves around football. So the last couple of years, we would be at my brother's high school football game out at Westwood, Massachusetts. That's Varian Brothers High School. But my brother Henry's in college now. So I guess it'll just be some NFL football. I did hear that we have a turkey trot in the morning. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. But I was thinking it was like a 3 mile run. It's a 5 mile run, so I will be doing some tonight just to get ready for that. But we are the turkey trot family. I will say that.
You know what? I feel like turkey trot families get like a tough rep, a hard rep. But I think I think I would like to be a turkey trot family myself. I mean, like I think it depends. Well, that's a good question. So definitely no physical activity, I can tell you that. But usually my dad cooks, so he spends the entire day before Thanksgiving and day of Thanksgiving cooking like this entire like Thanksgiving spread, which is incredible. We usually watch the Macy's Day Parade. I sometimes go for my own personal turkey trot. But no, I think turkey trots are so fun. And I saw that you also got to go to the Rose Bowl, too, to support your brother, Henry, who's playing for UCLA as a quarterback there. What was that like? How many times have you been to the Rose Bowl before?
Yes, that was my first time, and it was so cool. I mean, it was the USC versus UCLA rivalry, and neither team have had the best season, but you could still feel the energy from all the students, all the crowd. And that's a far drive. It is not close to UCLA campus, but it just shows you how iconic that building is and how willing the students are really to go to the game. But it was a really special game for me. I had never actually seen my brother Henry in a UCLA Bruins jersey. So, he's a freshman, so I really wanted to see his warm up. So I ran down to the front of the stadium and I'm like filming like a mom would, like, oh my gosh. I think all these people were kind of looking at me a little funny, but very proud big sister moment. And the Rose Bowl is an amazing stadium.
No, I saw all of your videos and I saw you wearing one of the UCLA jerseys. And I have to say, like the UCLA colors, they do it right there. The Bruins do it right with that like baby blue kind of yellow combo. They look really nice, really sleek. And then, I mean, Rose Bowl Stadium is incredible. I've been fortunate enough that I've got to go to 3 Rose Bowls, one while I was with Stanford, or while I was at Stanford, and then 2 before. I went to Stanford when my sister was there, so I got to go see 3 Rose Bowl games, and I will never forget the sunset behind the stadium. I don't know if you were able to see it during the time of the game, but usually like at around 6 p.m. during the Rose Bowl game, the sunset over Pasadena is just incredible. So if you haven't been to Rose Bowl Stadium yet, I would definitely suggest you make a trip, check it out. I mean, it's truly beautiful and it's one of the most iconic sporting venues, I think, in the United States. I was super lucky. I got to go back to Stanford for the first time since 2019. I hadn't been there in 5 years. So I normally, when I come back, I only come back for Christmas and I usually fly into Reno and drive down. But this time I flew into San Francisco and I got to spend a little bit of time with my brother and some people I know out there. I got to actually see a Sharks game as well. So I got to see some of our former Hockey East talent in action. Macklin Celebrini, the game that I went to, he had a goal and an assist. So that was really cool, but it was also just really special to get to see Stanford and really just be able to kind of like reconnect with my academic roots there. It's just kind of crazy. I feel like, I haven't been there in so long and it feels like forever ago, but definitely a really important part of my life too. And a place where, I played sports for so many years, it means a lot to me as well. Where I really started my career in sports writing as well, working for the Stanford Daily. So I'm glad that I got to, take a trip there and kind of see campus and see everything that's changed.
Yeah, that is so fun. And Stanford is a beautiful campus. I remember I did a basketball camp there years and years and years ago. And the whole time I just was like in awe of it. And I wanted to take photos everywhere. So super excited that you got to go back.
No, it's beautiful. People used to joke that, it was called Camp Stanford and it just felt like you were in this paradise all the time. Like you'd be struggling on some sort of test or exam, but there's palm trees around you. So like, who cares, It was amazing. Anyways, yes. Well, yes. So with UCLA, I was thinking with your brother Henry, we should turn him in to our women's basketball correspondent at UCLA because that team is doing really well. And Annabelle, you actually picked them as one of your 4 teams to watch, which I am very impressed by because they just upset the number 1 ranked team in South Carolina, 77-62 on Sunday at home in Pauley Pavilion. It was a sold out arena. And I mean, an incredible performance by the UCLA Bruins. It was their first win over a number 1 ranked opponent ever. They had played 20 games against number 1 ranked opponents before, had never beaten them, and it breaks South Carolina's 43-game win streak. So an incredible game by the UCLA Bruins. And UCLA defense, they held South Carolina to just 62 points, which is really incredible. And I think this kind of really encapsulates this game, at least in my opinion. So the UCLA team, it's really led by its center, Lauren Betts, and South Carolina did a great job of limiting her to just 11 points, but it was everybody else that really stepped up for the Bruins. There was, I think her name was London Jones, I want to say. She came off the bench 5 for 5 from behind the 3-point line and 15 points off the bench. Like, I think you just saw that team really come together and you realize that it's like truly a team. It's not just one player, that everybody contributes. And, it's like if they're stopping Lauren, if they're making her take tough shots, there's going to be other girls that are open.
Yeah, and that's 100% what it was, right? One of their team mottos is sometimes you, sometimes me, always us. They don't care who's scoring, but they really care about, like, are we scoring, right? Like, are we winning? And that's a really hard thing, even though it might just seem like, okay, yeah, that's a selfless attitude to have on your team. But when you're playing at that level and you're on one of the top, now number 1 team in the country, right? There's a lot of that can sit in. You build confidence from scoring, as athletes do. And so for them to have that attitude about them is really what their success can be attributed to. But like you said earlier, the defense, that was the game plan going into this game against USC because 27% of their baskets were coming off of transition defense. So this UCLA team, hey, we cannot have live turnovers. We need to make sure that we're forcing them to half-court offense. So that's really a huge part of their scoring opportunities, and UCLA did a great job of holding them to that part of their game.
Yeah, no, they did a really great job forcing South Carolina to take tough shots. And I like that you brought up the motto that UCLA head coach Corey Close uses for that team. Sometimes you, sometimes me, always us. Because something that I thought was really interesting that she said in her press conference afterwards was, like, we really have 8 starters. And she said, hold the term starter very loosely. Who I'm going to put out on the floor to start, it's just who I think is going to help us that game get off to the best start. Because in that post-game press conference, you heard a lot of the reporters there that regularly cover that team asking, like, oh, why did this person start versus this person? And she's like, it's just who I thought would get us off to the best start that day. And you can tell that all of those athletes are really bought into what they're doing there. But truly a really amazing night for UCLA, especially when you think about the kind of team that they were able to beat. So this was Corey Close's thoughts after that game.
I've played against South Carolina several times, and I meaning we, the Bruins, and this means a lot because Dawn Staley is set the tone of what women's basketball excellence should be over the last several years. And I just have so much respect for her staff, for the way they have a global view of the game. And so this obviously means a lot because of the respect we have. That being said, we expected to win. We have a phrase in our program that it begins before it begins, that you've got to do the work to prepare, and it starts way before the tip happens. And there just was never a doubt. And we prepared like we expected to win. You can hope and wish all you want, but if you don't prepare at a level that equips you, doesn't do any good. And I'm really proud of the commitment to preparation we made. And then lastly, I thought London Jones and Gabriela Jaquez were so huge for us.
Yeah, I love what she said. We expected to win. And I think that's so important because you think about all the teams that had played South Carolina last year. I mean, a 43-game win streak, that's incredible. So I think that just really shows you what kind of confidence UCLA has right now in their team and what they're capable of going into that game, like knowing that they're going to win this game if they execute the scout and execute the game plan the way that they had prepared.
Yeah, I love to just like if you just read a transcript, you probably wouldn't feel the same emotion that was coming from Coach Close. But I love how she set up that statement. Like, I respect Dawn Staley. Can you imagine what they've done? This is crazy. They haven't lost a game in like 2 years, whatever the stat is. And just quite incredible. But we expected to win. And it begins before it begins, right? I think that was the quote. But yeah, truly, like you can't go into a game not having that self-belief. And this is something that, we were hearing in their media day weeks ago when I was saying that, UCLA is, a team that I'm watching, because I went back and I was watching their media day press conferences, their preseason interviews. And that's really what they've been saying. And Coach Close has also attributed a lot of the respect to her own players, just in the extra work that they've put in. So this is definitely a team that is going to ride the wave of the high and this fan storming the court and hugging alumni that were at the game, and just the raw emotion of how cool that was to knock off South Carolina. But that they're going to have their heads down in the gym this week and ready to go for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with this game too, the reason why it was so meaningful was because of how good South Carolina is, was because of how important Dawn Staley is to women's basketball and the legacy she has and just the ability to be able to top a team like that. I mean, that's why this game was so meaningful. It even reminds me of back when I was at Stanford. Stanford snapped a winning streak for UConn at Maples Pavilion at Stanford. And I even remember like the environment around campus that day and just like what a big deal that seemed. And it's because like similarly to, South Carolina, UConn is a program with so much history and just like so much storied tradition. And when you're able to beat a team like that, one, it says a lot about how good you are in that moment, but it also says a lot about like just the meaning behind it. It's a lot about the team that you just beat and their history and how good they've been for so long. So definitely an awesome win for UCLA, but a tough loss for South Carolina for sure. And this is what Dawn Staley said after the game about that experience.
Yeah, my message was, this is what we usually do to teams. It doesn't feel good when you're on the receiving end of it, but you also know you got beat by a great team. Like executing on both sides of that was beautiful basketball by UCLA, beautiful on both sides. Like I can't, I'm on the opposite side of it, but you can't help but to love up on it because it was fluid on both sides of the ball. They wanted it. I thought our kids fought, but we ran into a buzzsaw today.
I love
Yeah,
her
I think
saying
she completely
what we usually do to teams, because these players haven't really felt that before. They haven't, experienced that same repetitive, we lost again and we lost again. And it's like, nope, well, this is how other people feel. So I just thought that was such a funny way of her to kind of make light of the situation.
No, I think it's really important too. Like a lot of the players on that team haven't experienced a loss. It's like, how will they respond? Now they have to learn how to win after a loss. So I think that this is going to be a really big experience for them. And I think something too that Dawn Staley also said in that press conference was this team, it's a different team than they had last year. Camila Cardoso was a really big part of their offense last year. She was like a dominant big. She went 3rd overall in the WNBA draft, and she's not there anymore. And now they have to learn how to play without that same type of dominant big and still be able to get the bigs that they do have involved. So their guards are more open. So I think that this is just a little bit of a learning curve right now for University of South Carolina, but it's good that it's happening, at least for them, in the beginning of the year. So they have some time to kind of figure out really where their weaknesses are and adjust. Yeah.
And the cool part about what she was saying in this press conference as well was how beautiful the basketball play was and how cool of the environment that was. And even though they lost, she was still able to point that out. And I think that just shows her maturity as a coach and as a woman in this league. And really, like, when every basket was scored, and I'm just telling this from watching the film on it, right? Like, I wasn't there, but you could tell when every basket was scored by UCLA, that stadium erupted, and it felt like that was the game-winning shot. And that's the type of environment that you want to be a part of. And that's why we play sports, we talk about sports, we love watching sports. And so it's just cool to hear her shout out the fluidness of the basketball, her give credit to the UCLA basketball team, because she has really, paved the way, like Coach Close was saying. And it was definitely an honor for her just to be able to see, okay, wow, look at this environment that we're playing in right now.
No, it was an incredible environment, but you know what? It was just in general like a crazy weekend in LA, because there was another electric game happening across town as number 6 Notre Dame beat number 3 USC 74-61 over the weekend. So something happening right now in the UCLA waters, but there was another really fun moment that happened this past week, and we're not going to get too much into the meaning behind it because we already talked so much about it last week, but that's Geno getting his 1,217th win, officially breaking that record as the all-time winningest coach in college basketball. His associate head coach, Chris Daly, who's been there with Geno since the very beginning, was honored as well. But what a fun ceremony. Honestly, at the very end, they brought out a goat for Geno. They walked him down the red carpet, or what was it, red or blue carpet? I don't remember. But they walked him down this carpet, handed off to Geno, and it was so cute. I was obsessed with this whole ceremony. But there were even goats outside. I remember I was watching Alexa Philippous's Instagram story, who covers all of women's basketball, and they were like, there's a petting zoo outside the arena. And the thing that I just couldn't help thinking was, like, imagine being Fairleigh Dickinson, the other team playing in this game, and you show up to play your basketball game and there's already goats there. It's like you had no chance to win this game, to bring goats in the building. The entire alumni base is there. Must be tough for them to have to go in and play in that environment, but an awesome ceremony for Geno. Couldn't have been done better.
Yeah, that's a unique experience for an opponent. And yeah, I don't think that really, gets your mind right for the game if you're walking in and you're seeing goats outside and animals. But such a cool way to honor Geno. I think it was super creative. And these don't happen often, right? Like, these type of ceremonies, these type of accolades only come so few. And so just shout out to the events group at UConn for putting on such an amazing event. I mean, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, so many more alumni got up and spoke about Geno. And the funny thing is, Geno was having these side conversations as well while these women are speaking about him, and some of them called him out. Because, when you play at that level, you can kind of have that long-term relationship with your coach, especially with all that success, and kind of mess around with him. And so they were like, all right, well, if he's even paying attention, while they're on the big mic. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, just shout out, because it seemed like an amazing environment and great way to honor Geno and Chris.
Yeah, and he seemed to really love the goat as well. I think he really enjoyed. I think he was kind of caught off guard by it. He was kind of what is this? But he even said at the very end, before I think the ceremony ended, he said, there's an old wives' tale that if this goat takes a dump on the carpet, we're winning the national championship, which was really funny. The goat did not actually take a dump on the carpet, though, so I don't know if that means that they're not going to win the national championship. I don't know.
Is that it?
Yes.
So, is that real? Yeah, we'll see.
But there was one group that did not like the ceremony at all, and I know that it gave both of us a laugh. Before I preface this, I just want to say that I am all for animal rights. I love animals. I want no harm to any animals. But PETA was very upset. They said UConn Huskies is the goat of bad gift ideas. They dragged a terrified, stressed out goat onto the court, into the chaos of bright lights and screaming fans, to gift them to Coach Geno. A goat is not a gift. And you know what? I can say I grew up with goats. I grew up on a farm. I grew up on a ranch. That goat did not look stressed out at all. That was the happiest, tamest, most happy to be there goat I have ever seen. I was actually shocked, because it's if those were my goats that I grew up with, they would be dragging me down the arena. So you know what? I think that was a very happy goat, happy to be there, happy to be supporting Geno, and just an all around really fun environment.
Well, Laura, maybe PETA needs to interview you and get your take on the GOAT situation. And yeah, I think they took it completely out of context, but it was really funny to be able to have this little, difference of opinion in this moment. But I have a hard time believing that Geno was actually taking the GOAT home, right? So I don't really think it's fair to say they were gifted, Geno was gifted the GOAT, because if you're gifted something, typically you take it with you, right? And now it's yours. And we can call Geno and check in on if the GOAT is still at his house. But yeah, just a funny little difference of opinion, I would call it.
I can confirm that the GOAT is not at his house, actually, and it was not necessarily a gift. It was more of a photo opportunity. I talked with one of the UConn SIDs the other day, and he was like, yes, PETA was very upset. They thought we gifted Geno the GOAT. It was just a photo opportunity. But still, I thought the GOAT seemed happy to be there, and just all around great ceremony. So if you're enjoying the show, new episodes come out every Thursday. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Well, there was another big game over the past week. The Orlando Pride won the NWSL championship for the first time ever, beating the Washington Spirit 1-0 on Saturday. And there was this really cool story from the championship that, Annabelle, you actually pointed out to me, and it felt just so meaningful. So the star on the Orlando Pride is 38-year-old Marta. She's their last remaining player from that 2017 championship. She's one of the best women's soccer players out there right now. Her mom had never seen her play live in the U.S. until this championship game when she flew in from Brazil. And after the game, Marta let her know that the win was for her. And you could just tell in that moment when her mom was in the stands and Marta was pointing up to her, you could tell how much that it meant to her mom that she got to be there and she got to see her win that championship. And yeah, just an all-around really special moment for the Orlando Pride.
So special. And there is a video of her screaming, "This is for you, this is for you," pointing up at the stands to her mom, and how emotional that moment must have been, not just for her, but for everyone around who knows, all the hard work that she's put in and just devoted to this league and this program. And like you said, this is their first win. And I know they were all excited to get that star right above their logo. And not only just to have it on their logo and toss it on an Instagram post, but to have it on their jerseys now forever, right? Now this program will forever have that star on the jerseys. But so awesome for Marta and her mother. I know they got to walk on the purple carpet when they got off at City Hall, off of the trolley downtown Orlando, and just so cool, and what a heartwarming story.
Yeah, and we just showed that video of the parade that happened in downtown Orlando after that win, and it was so exciting to see so many people come out to support that team, because we've seen all of these other sports take off over the past year with women's basketball and women's hockey, and I know that women's soccer has been around for a really long time and it's had a lot of support for a while, but it was nice to see them continue to get that support too. So a really successful parade and just celebration for the Orlando Pride. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the stadium that it was played in Kansas City, CPKC Stadium. It's the first stadium that was built specifically for a women's team. And all of the details in that stadium were so cool. I was reading about it and I watched a little news video that was done on it, and just seeing some of the details within the locker room. And it's just cool. It's cool to see a stadium that was built for women. And you can tell in the details of the stadium that it's got a different vibe. And as a woman myself, I love it. I'm like, oh, this is such a fun stadium. I love these details. I love this decor. Awesome, awesome place. And it was cool that that stadium got to host the event.
Yeah, they have a cool wall in there as well that has a photo of all the members of the first women's team to play in international competitions. And just thought, what a cool way to honor the women who have come before. Just all women who walk through those doors and play for that program. And yeah, like you said, it is truly incredible, because that wasn't something that I knew about growing up, a professional women's stadium just for them. And so even the parade wasn't something that I had been to growing up. And so hopefully, one day we can do that for maybe the Boston team if I'm still there in Boston, Massachusetts one day. But just super cool to see all the fans come out. And do you know who the special guests were on the parade, Laura? Can you guess? In Orlando. Mickey and Minnie Mouse, obviously, coming up from Disney World.
I had no idea. I was like, wait, should I know this?
No, yeah, they were in the parade, and obviously fitting for being in Orlando. So, what a fun day for everyone there.
No, it was totally awesome. And I love too that you brought up the photos that are in the stadium that are the first team to play internationally. Another detail that I really liked too, they have the words of Title IX written as you walk in and out of their locker room. And I think that's so important because, Annabelle, you and I have talked a little bit in the past about how we feel like we've been so respected as athletes ourselves. And like, we haven't really had to like fight as much for like our right to play or our right to deserve, good facilities and everything like that. We've been very lucky at the schools that we've been able to compete for. But I think it is important to have those words to remember that like it hasn't always been like that. And there were players that came before us that really did have to fight for those things. So I think that's such an awesome detail too. So congrats to the Orlando Pride for winning the NWSL championship. So well earned. And yeah, just such a great moment for them. And I'm so glad that so many people got to come out and see that celebration and the whole parade and everything. Definitely a great day in Orlando. And speaking of celebrations, there was a really fun celebration that actually happened in the NFL last weekend. It was Mr. Simone Biles, more probably known from the NFL community as Jonathan Owens, but he forced a fumble on Aaron Jones in the Minnesota Bears game. And he did the whole, gymnastics salute celebration to kind of pay respect, I guess, to Simone. I don't know if that's the right word, but maybe just to give her a shout out while he was playing. And I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Obviously went viral all across social media, but what did you think of that celebration?
Yeah, I loved it. And it happened really quick, which was funny because you'd think, oh, maybe people didn't catch on to it, but everyone knew exactly what he was doing. And shout out to Fox for catching a little bit of Simone's reaction up where she was sitting. I think that's really a fun part of the whole moment as well, as to capture both of the reactions. But I do want to know, I do have a question. Did he know that he was going to do that? Because it happened a little later in the celebration. There was a couple seconds that went by. Was it, oh, let me do this? I was planning on doing it. So I would like to know, what was the thought process? Did you know you were going to do that immediately? Was it spur of the moment? But also, the stakes are high for his next big play. I think he's got to pull out a backflip or some type of, real gymnastics move next.
Yeah, no, I had the same thought. And I kind of wondered, I was like, did he tell Simone that he was going to do it? Because she was like slamming on the glass. And like you said, it happened so fast. And it was like, were people able to catch this? Like, was Simone able to see it? It seemed like she was able to see it because she was slamming on the glass. She seemed super happy about it. And that was awesome. Definitely one of my favorite moments from the past week in sports. Another really great moment from the past week in sports was the Dancing with the Stars finale, which happened last night. I was driving from San Francisco to Bishop, so I didn't get to watch it, but I was very dialed in on social media. Annabelle, I know that you got to watch it. Unfortunately, former Bachelor Joey did win. It wasn't one of our, sports stars that we love, but I think like something that stood out for me from the finale was Steven Nedorozic's pommel horse freestyle dance routine. Incredible. What did you think about that?
That was amazing. And also the fact that Riley was also doing part of the pommel horse with him in the beginning. That was the craziest part. I think the judges after were like, Riley, like, now you're going to be a gymnast. But he also had teammates do it with him and be a part of that dance, which I thought was so cool and such a cool way, not only just like to get a good score on the dance to make it look cool, but also just like to honor your teammates in one of the coolest moments of your life, to be featured in a Dancing with the Stars finale. Like, how cool is that to bring in your teammates? So he was incredible, and what a fun guy to just be a part of and watch him this season.
No, I love that you brought up the part where his teammates came in. It was like this most beautiful moment where like he's standing in the middle of the stage with Riley, and Riley kind of like gives him a little nod, and then she runs off, and then it's just him with three of his teammates, and they're all on their own kind of like little, well, Steven doesn't have a pommel horse, but his three teammates have these like small little like pommels that they're pommeling over, and it was beautiful. It was so cool. I think like women's gymnastics is known for being like the beautiful artistic kind of gymnastics, and like men's gymnastics is known for being like more strong and powerful. But no, truly an amazing routine. There's some other really good routines too. I loved Alona Mars' Phenomenon routine. Yes. I know it's like, is she going to be the next Bachelorette? I know that Joey being there too, people are kind of like, oh, Alona, should you be the next Bachelorette? I think it would be awesome. It'd be really cool to see like a different kind of person get to have that opportunity. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, Alan had like a Mar jersey on with the other male dancers during the dance. It was like a long sleeve with her last name and a number. And I love how she also incorporated her rugby background into it. She did a little walk through the locker room and talking about the season. And the judges even said after, like, we just loved your humor in it. So maybe we will see her on more reality TV coming forward. But man, she was putting on a smile in that finale at the end when they announced the winner. But the competitive athlete in her, she is not happy at all. She was putting on a smile, but man, she is not, she wanted that win.
Yeah, speaking of athletes that weren't happy, Danny Amendola ended up in 5th after his Ken routine, which was so funny. But truly, probably like not the best dancer of the 5. So, maybe not necessarily like the most well-deserved. But no, truly such a fun routine. Definitely such a great season of Dancing with the Stars. I know people are saying that it's one of their favorites. So if you're enjoying the show, new episodes come out every Thursday. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. All right. Well, Annabelle, you were so lucky that you got to interview Dara Torres, who's a 12-time Olympic medalist and the future coach, or the new coach, I guess I should say, of BC Swimming. I listened to that interview. Such an incredible, powerful woman. You crushed that interview, like I said at the beginning. Nice to get to learn about her background and her approach. But she's coming into a tough situation at BC. The BC swim team had allegations of hazing that came up last September. So they were officially suspended for all of last season. Their coaching staff was let go in, I think it was January of this year. And so then comes in Dara and this new staff. And yeah, what was it like to get to talk to her?
Yeah, well, first, she is a rock star. She walked in and I was like, yep, this woman is legit. She is so cool and so kind and to talk to. And we really did talk a lot about Boston College. And obviously she has this incredible and unique Olympic career. But I really was interested on how do you turn this program around? How do you not only physically, right? These kids have been out of the pool for a long time, out of the BC pool together as a team for a while. But how do you just morale wise, right? Because when something like that happens to your program, it does take a toll on your athletes. And this is something that she is really focused on. They are doing hard workouts, double two a days in the pool, but they're also going to Red Sox games and they're doing fun things as a team together just to be one with each other outside of the pool. And something funny that I thought Dara said was that she sent her daughter off to college and she was like, all right, I'm an empty nester, but then she gained, 50 plus kids on the Boston College swim team. So she really is trying to get this program back on its feet, I would say, back in the pool, actually, and not just, get by, but really thrive as a swim program. And just props to the Boston College athletic department for this incredible hire. She was so encouraging and inspiring to talk to. I felt like I was getting a pep talk just hearing her story. So here is my conversation with Dara right before she was honored at the Tradition downtown Boston at TD Garden. What is up, Dara Torres? This is an honor for me, especially as a Boston College Eagle. So thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
You are being honored tonight, downtown Boston at the Tradition, City of Champions, which is perfectly fitting for yourself, 12-time Olympic medalist. What are you most excited for tonight?
Well, I have to tell you, my daughter's really bummed she's not here. She's in college, and I was walking around and down in the doldrums, it has all the hockey names and everything down there. So I was taking videos, and she was like, oh my gosh. But, just to be in the company of the people who are being honored and the fact that, this is a fundraiser to raise money for the community is very important to me.
It's so special. And I have to just say, you look gorgeous tonight.
Thank you.
Your dress, it is amazing. Did your daughter help you pick that out?
I literally was online, send, that was it. So, and I'm paying for it now because it's very big in the back and I have to keep tying this thing. So hopefully I'll get through the night. But my kids on the team, the girls told me that I need to wear sneakers. So I got my dunks on. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, I do want to talk about Boston College, the kids on your team. As a BC Eagle, it is so exciting to have you a part of the community now. BC is so fortunate to have you, really. Why did you choose Boston College?
Well, first of all, it's so rich in tradition and history and, the religious background and just everything about it just kind of embodied sort of like what I was looking for. I actually never thought I'd get into coaching. It's just something that kind of happened. And, I'm so ecstatic about it. And really what I wanted to do is just try to turn this program around and get the morale back and, the team culture and just get these kids to start having fun again and just start raising the bar as we go along.
Yeah, that first day when you got in front of the team, what was that like? What was the vibe?
I try not to be, but I think I was a little bit nervous because, we had over 50 kids there and they're all like paying attention to you. And I think I enjoyed doing a motivational talk more than standing in front of the kids and talking about team rules and other stuff going on. But we talked about goals and what I'm looking for, and we've had individual meetings with the kids and really have an idea of what's going on there and what their needs are and stuff. And it's been a little bit of a learning curve at the beginning, I think, for all parties intended. But I think everyone's just settled in now and really enjoying it.
That's amazing for you to say, because swimming has been a part of your life forever, really.
Yes.
And you're saying, yeah, it's a learning curve. And there's a lot of things that nobody really sees that you have under your responsibility that's outside of the pool.
It's crazy. The guy who hired me, he said, I really underestimated how little you know about administrative work. And I'm like, I had an agent, so he did everything for me. I didn't have to do anything. So, it's definitely a learning curve. Not so much the coaching. I mean, I think learning how to use a stopwatch, because I've never had to use a stopwatch, is something that is a little bit different for me. But the coaching just kind of has come naturally. But the administrative work, like, I had no idea how much there would have to be, to get the season going, and between a meet schedule and equipment, and there's just one thing after another. Mm-hmm. So it's been a lot, but we're plugging along. I'm going to be bummed next year when I can't say, well, this is my first year. So,
you don't have that excuse,
I don't have
behind
excuse
me.
anymore.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, is there a motto or a specific phrase or just team philosophy that you're like, this fall, I really want to instill this in my program?
I think, just considering it was kind of a rough patch for them last year, I really just want them to reach their full potential of what they can do. We had such a variety of kids come in that some swam, some didn't swim. We had some freshmen never did double workouts before, and it was just like, everyone just got thrown in. And so, our goal is really just for each individual to reach their full potential and to have fun. We've gone to Red Sox games. A couple of kids went to hockey games. We've done Top Golf. We done go-karting.
I want to join the swim team.
I know, right? Well, you're a lacrosse player, so you're on the field all the time. That's all you look at. And these kids are looking at a black line at the bottom of the pool. And academics is so prestigious at Boston College that, they have a lot on their plate. So to go out and just get out of that realm and do something different, I think is really important.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And I bet those student athletes really appreciate that, because it is really hard. And especially with someone like you coming in as their coach, they're probably like, oh, it's swimming only, blinders on. But you're able to bring them outside of that and say, this is really more than just what happens here in the pool.
Yeah, and I think also the biggest thing that I want these kids to learn coming out of my program is confidence, to when they're done with this chapter in their life and they go on to the next chapter, that they have the confidence to do that.
That's awesome. Is there a specific drill or coaching philosophy from a former coach that you've had that you are making sure that you bring to this Boston College team?
Yes. What I've really learned just as an athlete and seeing the coaches that I've worked with for so many years and all their different philosophies really is, you're not coaching the team, you're coaching the individual. So yes, people may swim the same events, but every body type's different. How people take things in is different. The mental capacity is different. So, I have 52 different personalities on the team. And, I literally dropped my daughter off at Penn State for her freshman year of college. I'm like, oh, empty nester. And then 3 days later, I'm like, oh, I got 52 kids now. So but it's really been a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. And, it's really just to have that confidence when they leave my program.
That's awesome. It truly is a new family that you've taken on, and 52 is a lot of athletes.
Yeah, it is. But I think the hardest thing besides a stopwatch is learning everyone's names. Literally when they were in practice after the first week, my associate head coach and I were like, okay, I'm going to go on Instagram and take a picture of it. And then, see, I have their profile, and then I can match them to who they are in the pool. And we're like, okay, that's Liza. Hey, Liza, and that's really what we had to do, because 52 kids trying to learn their names in 1 week, we're messing everyone up. So that was pretty hard too.
But it's intentional. You're being intentional with
Yes.
it. You're not just going to say, oh, you're just one of the 52.
Exactly.
So I'm sure your swimmers are happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, I read your book, Age is Just a Number, and something amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
And something that really stood out to me was the emphasis that you had on positive self-talk, and especially around your race time. How has that proven to help you throughout your career?
So when you're training for something like an Olympic Games, or you're in a sport where, yes, you're swimming, but when you're sitting at the wall, you're around your other teammates, you have to try to be positive and, for me, I didn't try to like overthink things and get into my head and stuff. Like I do much better actually if I don't think about anything and I just go and swim and do my thing. And I feel like if I've done all the hard work up to that point, whether it's physical or mental, and go to a meet, that I should just be able to stand up and go. And so I try to, obviously there's a lot of positivity that goes into that, whether it's physical or mental. It's always important for me to surround myself with people who are positive. I'm too old to like deal with, all this other stuff that's going on, and it does. It happens in sports, and you know that. And it's just a matter of how you deal with it. So staying positive is really important.
That's good. And I think that's a great message for people who even aren't athletes, right? Like whatever environment you're in, if it's your work environment, you want to surround yourself with people who build you up and just positive.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I try to tell the kids. Like if anyone's having a bad day, go into water, say what you need to say, and then pop back up,
That's good. So get down in the water.
Exactly. So I've had to have a couple talks with a couple kids and they get it, but I mean, listen, like if I wasn't complaining about something in practice, my coach would think something was wrong with me. So I get it. You're getting ready and you don't know what's coming up, and then all of a sudden the coach gives you a hard set and you're like, oh gosh, but just go into water.
That's good. Just go underwater.
Get it all out. Bubbles come up, and then you're great,
I'm going to use that with my kids someday when they're being naughty.
That's right.
I love that. Well, I loved learning about you as the BC Eagle, but I would love to learn more about you as the Olympian, 12-time medalist, 4 gold medals. It's a pretty insane sentence for me to say. When you think back to those medals and the journey that those brought you through, I bet each one has a really hard fought story, right? But is there a specific race with one of those medals that you're specifically proud of?
It's hard to say which one. I think what I've learned in retrospect, looking back, is, looking at that road that got you there, like the journey, like you said, that's what makes you who you are, not getting necessarily that medal. But if I had to pick a race, it would probably be the 50 freestyle in 2008 in Beijing, because what I thought when I finished and I looked at the scoreboard, it said that I lost by 100th of a second. And if you blink as fast as you can blink, that's fast. 100th of a second is faster than as fast as you can blink. I mean, it's just you can't calculate how fast that is. And so for me, it was like hopping on that plane, being so upset that I lost by 100th of a second, and then realizing that I gave it everything I had, that I left no stones unturned, and there was nothing else I can do, that I had to be happy that I actually won a silver medal, in the Olympic Games. So at 41, I definitely thought about things a little bit differently, but I think that race is probably the most important race for me, because it really taught me a lot and had me grow up a little more, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I have to keep swimming until I win that individual gold medal that's eluded me for so many years.
Wow, that's really powerful. And I bet just that story in itself, out of the millions of stories and life lessons that you've learned from swimming, that for your own swimmers, just at Boston College, that is going to take them so far to know that if you can say that, they can say that in their meet.
It's like a peace of mind, and I mean PEACE, peace of mind. If these kids, if they give it all that they can and they did the best they can, there's nothing else that they should expect from themselves.
Definitely. And talking about the mind, when you walk into that pool deck and it's the Olympics, I've never been in one of those environments. I know it's probably really hard to explain. What is that moment like?
I think it was much different when I went to my first one at 17 years old, and I was, this young kid sort of bouncing off the walls and not appreciating it. And then when I got to my 5th Olympics at 41 years old, I definitely could see things a lot differently through the eyes of a 41-year-old than I did at my first Olympics through the eyes of a 17-year-old. So I think you're just a lot more appreciative and just so excited to be there. That's
awesome. When you think back to just being a part of the Olympics with all the other Olympians, I bet there were so many people that saw you and were like, oh my gosh, that's Dara Torres, and freaking out, right? But who was an athlete that you were so excited to see there?
It was really fun when the NBA guys came into the village, and, they stay at a hotel. The beds are too short for them. And, so, I mean, I get it. And they get mobbed anyway. But when they came to the Olympic Village before opening ceremonies in 2008 and hung out with us, and then would come to and support us and come to the meets, and cheer us on. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's so cool. I love it's really cool when other athletes, I just experienced this in college, when the football team would come watch us or the basketball team and vice versa. It really just builds that sense of like all one team. And I can't imagine what that was like on the USA front.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like a community, I mean, we're there representing the United States. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. Well, you've swam in so many pools. Is there a favorite pool that you have?
I'd have to say Sydney, Australia. The Australians really put on an awesome Olympics, and every Olympics was great, but it's just something about being in a country where they treat their swimmers like rock stars, and everyone knows who everyone is, and they speak English, and it's just so beautiful there. And that was probably my favorite venue.
When you say they treat their swimmers like rock stars, what's like different about that?
Like, we would walk into a laundromat and everyone know who we are, because swimming is such a big sport there in Sydney, Australia, and they just sort of worship them. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that is super fun. I love that. Now that you're at Boston College, have your athletes asked you, hey, are you going to get in the pool with us ever? Is that something that's been on your mind?
I kind of did. I didn't mean to, but I did. And I hadn't swum in like 5 years and have been in recently 3 different times. And the last one, I just popped in with a kid and we swam together. So it was fun.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Well, Dara, we are so excited just to be able to talk to you today. And truly, from me as a BC Eagle, so thankful that you are at Boston College and cheering you on. And I know you've probably got a lot of maroon and gold by this point, but
I do.
I want to gift you some BC Lacrosse neon, another Boston College color, just to really welcome you to the Boston College community. And we're cheering you on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
If you're enjoying the show, new episodes come out every Thursday. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Annabelle, I absolutely loved that interview. It was so fun to get to learn about Dara, her coaching philosophy, just her experience too as a swimmer herself and what she's trying to bring to this BC swim team. I think something that really stuck out to me about the interview was that she wants to make sure she coaches every athlete individually and bring their own approach to each specific person. And I think that's so important, even just like in thinking about my own experiences as an athlete. And my coach at Stanford, Kate Burkdoe, was so good about this and making sure that she treats every athlete individually, because a coaching style that would work on me wouldn't work on somebody else and vice versa. And she was so good about figuring out how to, motivate people and most out of their athletes. So I loved everything she said, and awesome interview.
Well, thank you. And she's been doing motivational speaking, since she retired. And so it's definitely something she is very good at. And, I might even tell my sister, hey, you got to have her come speak to your BC lacrosse team within the building. So super honored to get to speak to her and have her as a Boston College Eagle.
I love that you said that she was a motivational speaker and she's done all that too. That makes a lot of sense, just because in listening to her speak, I was like, wow, like she is so articulate. Like she says everything so well. Even when like the moment that stuck out to me was when she said peace of mind and she was like PEACE. She like spelled it out. I was like, she's done that before. No, she's such a great speaker, definitely super motivational. And just too, as a head coach, like 50 new names in swim caps is crazy. So good for her. Well, anyways, since it's Thanksgiving today, this episode is coming out on Thanksgiving. We have compiled a list of 4 things that we think that Boston/sports fans in general should be thankful for this year. So I can get us kicked off. My thing that, of course, Boston fans need to be thankful for this year is the Celtics winning their 18th NBA championship, breaking the tie with the Lakers, who only have 17. But this was Boston's first championship in like the big 4 being, Patriots, Celtics, Bruins, Red Sox in 5 years, which, can you believe it? It was the second longest championship drought in Boston history since those 4 teams has been around. So one that shows us how spoiled we are.
That's
but
like a second. To everyone else, that's
yeah, I was going to say one that shows us how spoiled we are as Boston fans. But also, you know what? If you're a Boston fan, you should be thankful that you have another championship. What about you?
That's good. Well, I'm going to stick with Boston for this one. The Patriots have their future quarterback, Drake May, and they were able to see him this season pretty early on, starting at week 6. And just all the talk since he's been drafted is Drake May, when will we see him? What's it going to be like? And even though this season has not gone how Patriots and the Patriots fans would want, we were able to see glimpses of Drake May's greatness and really leadership. And my favorite part so far this season, just from Drake May, has been his response after the Chicago Bears game, after the Patriots won that. When he came into that press room and said, hey, let's put the phones down, let's clap it up for the defense. And I think for such a young guy, for how early on in his career, and just being a new starter to this program, right? He didn't start the season with the starting job at quarterback. I think that shows a lot of maturity and leadership and just your ability to put yourself out there in front of Boston media, right? And all of the NFL media, and to really say, hey, let's shout out the defense. Not something that I did, not something that, my group did, but more so the defense. And so I'm super excited for Boston sports fans in general, but more so for Drake May and the future that he has with the Patriots.
No, he's done a great job, especially when you think about how Boston media has, at the beginning of the year, so many people were saying, don't start Drake May. And for him to come out and prove that he is capable of being a starter at this league and he can handle the struggles that come along with playing on a rebuilding Patriots team right now, he's done an amazing job. Okay, well, my other thankful is for just WNBA expansion. And I'm not just talking about the team expansion. Of course, there's going to be 3 new teams coming to the WNBA in San Francisco, Toronto, and Portland. But just the expansion from like a fan perspective and just from facilities perspective, just the general boom that we've seen in this past year. But truly, I think the team expansion is going to be so important as well, because you're going to get to see new players, more talent, more storylines, and just more fans. It's going to be awesome. What's your last one?
Yeah, well, just to go back to that quickly, we're going to need a whole separate Respect Her Game show for WNBA talk after all this expansion. It's really going to be hard. Our rundowns are going to be like WNBA. How Laura and I do it every week. So that's good. But I guess my last one is another football thing, the college football playoff expansion, going to 12-team playoff. And so really, it's maybe not be the 5th team that's left out. Now it's the 13th team. So hopefully that puts out a fire, that situation that we had with FSU last year. But the first round is in less than a month, December 20th. The team seeded 5 through 8 will get to host a home game for the first round, which is the first time this is happening in the playoffs. So fun for on-campus college kids to have this game on site. And so I'm really just fired up for that first round game, even though it might not be, the top teams. Super excited for those college kids to have that on campus.
Yeah, and who should be really thankful for the 12-team playoff is the Big 12 and the ACC, because I think this 12-team playoff is the saving grace for those conferences, especially in this current environment of college athletics, because if it was a 4-team playoff, those leagues, I don't think, would ever get in at this point. So we're so lucky, you're right, to have a 12-team playoff. But I also really liked what you said too about we're going to have an entirely different show for the WNBA and women's basketball, because we didn't even get to our would you rathers today. We had a whole list of, Thanksgiving themed would you rathers, but we were having such good conversation about women's basketball through the beginning of this episode. And that just shows you, what a great state that sport is in right now in this year. So many things for sports fans to be thankful for. Annabelle, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for joining me for this Thanksgiving. Really quick, before we toss this, what's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
Oh my gosh, that is so good. I love anything pumpkin. So I'm probably more on the dessert side. So anything pumpkin, I will eat. I love it. I'm so excited. How about you?
I really like the cranberry sauce because I think it can kind of go with anything. It's sweet, but I could put it with my savory things as well. So I'm a really big cranberry sauce girl. So with that, thank you so much for watching another episode of Respect Her Game. We will see you next week, and happy Thanksgiving.